This is the Grappling Show, episode 45, Tachiyama Mineemon. Hello and welcome to the Grappling Show. I am your host Brett Summers, and this week we are stepping back into the golden age of sumo to meet one of Japan's most dominant forces of the dohyo, Tachiyama Mineemon. Born in Toyama City, Toyama Prefecture, Tachiyama wasn't just another wrestler, he was a phenomenon. As the sport's 22nd Yokozuna, he became legendary for his incredible strength and unmatched skill. Between 1909 and 1916, he won an astonishing 99 out of 100 matches, not counting draws, a record that still turns heads today. Over his career, he claimed 11 top division championships, 2 of them unofficial as they were back before the championship system was even formalised in 1909. Born on August 15th, 1877 in the Toyama Prefecture, a young man named Omoto Yajiro would one day become one of the most powerful figures in sumo wrestling history, the mighty Tachiyama Mineemon. His journey into the world of sumo began in a rather extraordinary way. He didn't simply wander into the sport, he was brought in at the insistence of 2 of Japan's most influential figures of the time, Itagaki Tatsuki and Seigo Tsugumichi. These were not ordinary patrons, but were towering personalities in Japanese politics and society, and their encouragement was a clear sign that this young man had something special, something worth investing in. Tachiyama joined the Tomozuna stable, one of the respected training grounds of the area. There, he found himself surrounded by skilled wrestlers, including Kunimiyama, who would later rise to become an Ozeki, the second highest rank in sumo. In May 1900, Yajiro officially stepped into the professional world of sumo, making his debut under his new shikona, Takayama. The name itself means sword mountain, and that was fitting, almost prophetic. It captured everything he would become: immovable, sharp, and formidable. From the very beginning, Takayama's rise through the ranks was nothing short of meteoric. After only 3 tournaments in the unsalaried divisions, he was already too dominant to ignore. In January 1902, he earned promotion to the Dohyo division, a paid rank that separates promising hopefuls from true professionals. And then, in his second Dohyo tournament, Takayama delivered a statement to the entire sumo world. He achieved a perfect 10-0 record while competing in Dohyo 3. It was a performance so commanding that his promotion to the Makakuchi or top division came swiftly, arriving in January 1903. Inside the training stable, his reputation only grew. Takayama's extraordinary physical strength was so overwhelming that his fellow wrestlers, strongmen in their own right, couldn't even train with him effectively. Sparring sessions often ended before they truly began, and his sheer power had become both his greatest weapon and his biggest challenge. That's when Tachiyama Mineemon, already a sumo legend and one of the greats of his era, stepped in once more. He recognized Takayama's potential and the danger of unrefined strength. Tachiyama became his practical coach, guiding him towards mastery. and under that mentorship, Tachiyama's raw force began to evolve into something even more dangerous, a blend of technique, discipline, and unstoppable momentum. With each match and each victory, Tachiyama was no longer just a rising star, he was becoming a force that would soon define an entire era of sumo wrestling. Tachiyama wasted no time making his presence felt in the top division. In only his 4th tournament, he stormed through the competition with an 8-1-1 record, a performance that, by today's standards, would have earned him a Yusho or tournament championship. But at that time, official championships did not yet exist. They would not be formally recognized until 1909. Still, everyone who watched that tournament knew what they were witnessing. A sumo wrestler who wasn't just strong, but unstoppable. Tachiyama's dominance wasn't an anomaly, it was the start of something historic. He continued to rise through the ranks, and by the summer of 1907, competing as a sekiwaki, he captured yet another unofficial championship, further cementing his reputation as one of the most formidable rikishi in Japan. His strength, speed, and sheer presence on the dohyo made him a draw wherever he appeared. For 4 long years, Tachiyama held steady at the rank of sekiwaki, refining his craft and facing every challenge that would come his way. And then, in June 1909, his consistency and power were finally rewarded. He was promoted to Ozeki, the 2nd highest rank in sumo wrestling. At that moment, Tachiyama wasn't just climbing ranks, he was rewriting the very definition of dominance in the sport. The stage was now set for his ascent to the ultimate title in sumo, Yokozuna. His debut as an Ozeki was nothing short of impressive. Tachiyama finished runner-up to Takamiyama Torinosuke, posting a strong 8-2 record that signalled he was already ready for the next step in his career. And that step came soon. In June 2010, Tachiyama captured his first official championship. Now that Yusho were formally recognised, he finished the tournament undefeated with a 9-0-1 record, that one being a draw. Then came February 1911, and with it, another dominant run. Tachiyama stormed through the competition once again, claiming his 2nd official championship, this time with a record of 8-0-1, another draw. It was a statement, a declaration that there was no one left to stop him. After the tournament, there was no more debate, no hesitation. His promotion was inevitable. Tachiyama Mineemon was officially elevated to the rank of Yokozuna, the pinnacle of sumo wrestling, a title reserved only for the greatest of the great. And with that, a new era had begun. As a newly crowned Yokozuna, Tachiyama was already a living legend, but over the next several years he became something far greater, a symbol of unstoppable power and perfect dominance. Between 1909 and 1916, Tachiyama went on an astonishing run, winning 99 out of 100 matches, not counting draws. A feat that stands among the most remarkable streaks in the entire history of sumo wrestling. His most feared weapon was his tsuki, or pushing technique. Few could withstand the raw force of his thrusts. One moment from the June 1910 tournament became the stuff of legend. On the 3rd day, Tachiyama unleashed a series of thrusts so powerful that his opponent, Ibi Koitachi Yoshitaro, was sent flying off the dohyo into the crowd, landing in the 4th row of seats. Koitachi was so badly shaken and wounded that he had to withdraw from the tournament. Stories of Tachiyama's sheer physical strength didn't stop there. It drew comparisons with the legendary sumo Raiden Tamimon, and it was said that he could wave a 400 kg or 880 pound shell with one arm, a feat that defied belief. But brute force wasn't his only gift. Despite his enormous size, Tachiyama was also skilled on the mawashi, the belt used in grappling, making him a rare combination of raw power and technical mastery. Much taller and stronger than his contemporaries, Tachiyama stood apart in every way. Over his 18-year career, he never once suffered a Meikoshi or losing record, and as a Yokozuna, he lost only 3 bouts in total, a level of consistency few in any era of sumo can match. At one point, he recorded a 43-bout winning streak, which only ended when he lost a single match to Nishinumi Kajero II, but rather than faltering, he came back stronger than ever, launching a second streak of 56 consecutive wins. That run began on the 9th day of the January 1912 tournament, and even today stands as the 5th longest winning streak in sumo history, behind the likes of Futabayama, Tazi, Hakuo. Interestingly, Tachiyama would later claim that his lone loss between those 2 streaks was deliberate, an act of generosity towards his rival Yokozuna, who had been struggling at the time. If that story is true, then he could have set an almost mythical record of 100 consecutive victories. Eventually though, even legends meet their match. On the 8th day of the May 1916 tournament, Tachiyama's incredible run finally ended when he was defeated by Chochigayama Morie, another rising star of the era. Yet even as his competitive years drew to a close, Tachiyama's reputation as the ultimate strongman of sumo only grew. In 1917, he issued a challenge to fellow wrestlers, saying, "I will give 1 bale of rice to anyone who can walk around the dohyo while shouldering me." One young boy stepped forward, not yet a professional rikishi, but already full of ambition. He failed in his first attempt, but on the second attempt he succeeded. That boy's name was Tamanishishiki Sanomon, and about 15 years later he would become a Yokozuna himself. But even greatness, as we say, must eventually pass the torch, and on the final day of the January 1917 tournament, Tachiyama was defeated by Onishiki Ichiro, a pupil of his own mentor Hitachiyama Tanemon. With that loss, his second in the same year, Tachiyama decided it was time to retire. By the end of his career, he had won a total of 11 top division championships, 9 official and 2 unofficial. He walked away from the dohyo not just as one of the most dominant Yokozuna of his generation, but as one of the greatest in the entire history of sumo wrestling. His power, his discipline, and his aura of invincibility would echo through the decades. The mountain that could not be moved, the Sword Mountain, Tachiyama Mineemon. After retiring from active competition, Tachiyama briefly stayed within the world of sumo, taking on the elder name Owazu Maziki within the Japan Sumo Association, but his time there was short-lived. By May 1919, he decided to walk away entirely. Reportedly, he was displeased with the direction of the Sumo Association. Unlike many wrestlers who struggled after retirement, Tachiyama had done something few others managed. He had earned and saved an enormous amount of money during his career. That financial independence allowed him to live life on his own terms. Freed from the pressures of the dohyo, Tachiyama spent his later years in peace. He had quite a passion outside of sumo, and that was painting, and he devoted much of his time often sketching and painting the majestic Mount Fuji, his favourite subject. The mountain, eternal and unmoving, seemed a fitting muse for a man who once embodied those very qualities in the ring. Then, in 1937, long after he left competition behind, Tachiyama made history once again. He became the first Yokozuna ever to perform a Kenriki Doro Iri, a 60th year ring entering ceremony, held to celebrate longevity and enduring legacy as a Yokozuna. It was a moment of pure reverence, the once unstoppable champion returning to the ring not to fight but to be honoured. Tachiyama passed away on March the 4th, 1941 at the age of 63. By then, his legend had long since been secured. He had been more than just a champion, he was a force of nature, a symbol of strength, discipline and grace. Even in retirement, he lived as he fought, with quiet dignity, immense presence and an unshakable sense of self. To this day, his name stands tall in the history of sumo wrestling, the Sword Mountain, who ruled the ring and whose shadow still falls across the dohyo more than a century later. Tachiyama Mineemon was not just another name in sumo history, he was a phenomenon. A man who redefined what it meant to be dominant. From his explosive Suki thrust to his near mythical strength, he stood as an unstoppable force in a sport built on power, balance and will. But what makes his story timeless isn't just the records, the 99 wins out of 100, the 11 championships, the 56 match streak that still echo through the ages. It was his discipline, his presence, the way he carried himself in victory and in retirement, calm, unshaken and in complete control. In the gym or simply trying to master your craft, remember Tachiyama's lessons. The strongest aren't always the loudest. They're the ones who move with quiet certainty and who never stop refining and who leave behind a legend that can't be forgotten. This has been the Grappling Rise Show and I have been your host Brett Summers. We will be back again next week with another guest from the world of grappling. In the meantime, you can check us out and everything we're up to on our mothership, thegrapplingride.com, as well as follow us on our social medias, especially Instagram and Facebook. Give us a like and a follow on those. Our new episodes drop every Thursday at 7 a.m. UK time, and you can watch them on our YouTube channel or listen to them on all the major podcast apps and devices that are out there, including Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible, Podcast Addict, and many, many, many more. But please, if you are on social media or you are giving us a listen or a watch, give us a like, subscribe or follow, and even a review. All of those little things help us claw our way out of the podcast void to help us be seen by more and more grappling fans. So as I say, thank you for taking the time to listen this week. We'll be back again next week with another guest. So stay safe and stay on the mats.